Let me start over. All right. The key for your essays, or the to explain the color coding system I use. So if something is highlighted green, it means you have a sentence fragment. All right. Blue, run on and or comma splice. Okay, remember, run on is just two or more complete sentences stuck together without proper punctuation, and then a comma splice is two complete sentences stuck together with a comma. All right. And then if you see something in yellow, it just means that something there wasn't quite right. Okay, so that's a proofreading issue. Okay, go back over that and try to discern what's wrong with that. So on some of the papers, I put a suggested correction, but also I just left some yellow for you all to go through. Okay, and then if you see something typed in green print, it just means like a suggested wording, that I have. You can keep it, you can word it however you want to, but those, like, before we get started, when you're looking at your paper, here's the key. We'll say, we'll call it. All right. So yeah, you got your papers back. Okay. And for they were I was happy with how they came out. All right. I think one thing, we all have in common, for our next draft, right? We just need to take our 2 pages or take our 3 pages or whatever number we have, and just keep working on turning that 2, 3, or whatever pages into 4 pages. All right. So I think that's one of our first stipulations for our draft number 2. Draft number 2 should be 4 pages, 4 full pages. Okay. And now, before we get started, nobody's starting from scratch. Okay. No, I don't want you to write an entirely new essay for your next draft. You're really just taking what you've already submitted and then building on that. So nobody's starting over. You don't have to come up with a new essay. Okay. So draft number 2, keep building on what you have. Okay. Keep building on what you have. And I will get more specific, as we get into tonight's material. Okay. Yeah, keep building your essay.
So you want us to kind of fill in the blanks, like expand from that, or like,
Yes.
because when I was reading mine, I was like, well, I did 2 pages, and you're talking, I'm thinking, well, fill in the gaps from where I started to where I ended, like add more to it, more detail, or just
There we
add on.
go. You can add more detail to what you already have, or you can incorporate some more ideas that aren't in your original draft. And that's actually what I was going to say when we went over our material tonight. Some of you will just be taking your 2 pages and filling in gaps, like within that 2 pages, but some, you'll be adding new material. So on some of the essays, some of the comments I left were like, what happened here. Okay. And that means explain a little bit further. Okay. Now, all right. Try not to go over 6 pages with your next draft. Okay. If anybody was thinking of adding that much more. Okay. But I think for a lot of us, the addition could be a discussion of how we're applying what we learned from this thing that we went through. Okay. Like if you messed up in school or whatever, how are you, like, what's different now? Okay, how are you doing things differently? And use some specific examples, of course. All right. Now, good people. Okay. I'm already logged into D2L because I've been kind of off and on this thing all day. But if you look into the week 5 module, right? If you look in the week 5 module, Oh man, evening classes. All right. There's a lot about revision in this module. All right, and I'll come back and go over this stuff. But if you look at our, ooh, forgot to add the reading questions. Okay, there's a few assignments in here. One is the second draft of your instructor chosen essay, and that is due a week from today. Okay, and you can use this assignment folder, right? Just upload it. One thing that I want to suggest to all of you is when you get your draft back from me, it's going to look, it's going to have my feedback on there. I use the comments a lot. I use color coding and everything, like that. But when you're making your revisions, make sure you revise on your own original draft. Okay, your original draft is still in your assignment folder, or it's probably on your computer somewhere, wherever you have it saved. So when you revise, make sure you're revising that one. Don't revise on the one with my feedback on there. All right, well, especially like it just gets difficult when comments start to overlap, because I'm going to give you feedback on your next draft the same way, or probably more feedback on that draft than I'm giving you on this one. Okay, so yeah, make sure you revise on your original draft. Also, there's something new. Okay, now this document, this instructor's chosen essay self-assessment. Again, I will be giving you feedback, right? You can go see a tutor, get feedback from them, right? You can upload your paper to NetTutor, get more feedback. But at the end of the day, right, when it comes to your own paper, you're in the driver's seat. Okay, so only you determine what the final draft of your paper is going to look like. And in that spirit, I want you all as students to get in the habit of assessing your own work. Okay, again, of course I'm going to give you feedback, and in the rest of your English classes, no matter who you take, you're going to get feedback from your teachers. But I think sometimes the danger in that lies when students will often look at the feedback and say, okay, Nora, we'll put a comment here, comment there. Let me fix that, fix this, and now I'm done. So I think when you go over your own paper, you start to see the changes that you want to make, not the changes that have been suggested for you to make. So, don't think that revision is just fixing. Meaning like you're going through your paper and, like I said, looking at everything that has a comment next to it and say, okay, Nora wanted me to adjust that. Let me fix that. And then now I'm done. Okay, that's not revision. All right. So the first thing you should do when you get your paper, one, look at the feedback, and then just read your paper from beginning to end. Okay, read it from beginning to end, and try to read it as a reader and not a writer. Meaning, try to read it as if you are not the author of it. Okay, try to put yourself in your reader's shoes. All right, and then ask yourself, if a person that doesn't know me or doesn't know the inner workings of my mind, would they understand, how these ideas connect? Okay, and I think sometimes that's the issue with reading our own writing, and we keep rereading it. It makes sense to us, because it came from our own minds. And then I think something specific with these essays is, we're talking about an experience. So um oftentimes we may, just leave gaps in our experiences and assume that our reader, is going to fill in that blank for us. But we have to do that. That's our job, as writers. All right. So before you submit your essay, or when you submit draft number 2 of your essay, submit this document along with it. And you can type right on here, just don't bold. All right. So list at least 3 changes you made to your paper from draft 1 to draft 2. Don't say something like I've added page numbers, or just like a cosmetic change. What change did you add? I mean, what change did you make with your paper? Okay, maybe you added some material, maybe you took some material out, okay, that didn't belong there. All right. You know, maybe you organized it differently. Maybe you arranged your paragraphs differently. Okay. So you want to list at least 3 changes you made from draft number 1 to draft number 2. And again, don't just say, well, I fixed everything Professor Norwood suggested I fix. Okay. Because again, that's not revision. All right. That's just fixing. Okay. And that doesn't necessarily make a paper better. All right. And then, you know, answer this honestly. How long did you spend working on the second draft? Okay. How long? Right? Was it a little bit of time every day? Was it a couple hours a day? Was it, you know, you waited until what's today, Monday? You waited until Monday afternoon to get started? Okay, be honest. And then, you know, your answer for this first part kind of coincides with the second part. So how long did you spend working on draft number 2? And then do you think you dedicated enough time to it? Okay. If the answer is no, that means you need to change your process for the next draft. All right. And again, you know, the reason we do multi-draft essays is, you know, for this learning process. One, you know, we're picking up, you know, the mechanics of writing and the organization and structure and things of that nature. But, you know, we're also learning our own writing process, you know, throughout this journey of putting this essay together. Okay, so do you think you dedicated enough time to your essay? You know, if the answer is yes, cool. If the answer is no, then think about what you need to do differently, you know, on your next essay. And again, you know, only you know your work schedule, your family schedule, you know, the range of other things that we all have in our lives. So, you know, keep that in mind, you know, as you're working on your next draft. And then, you know, what aspect of this essay did you struggle with the most? Okay, was it deciding what detail to add, what details to add, okay, and what to take out, right? And I know many of us have been through a lot. You know, we have a lot of experiences to share. And even with the ones that we share in our essay, we have to determine, like, you know, what details to include, and then what details are going to distract your readers. Okay. What do they need to know? Right? Versus what you think is interesting, but they don't really need to know it. And in some way, those little sidebar thoughts can distract your readers. Okay. So what you struggle with the most? Could be an aspect of writing it, or could be an aspect of, like, you know, my job got the best of me this week, so I really didn't have the time. Okay. And then what steps will you take to improve your next draft? Will you organize differently? Okay. Will you focus on sentence level issues? Will you make sure all your paragraphs are unified? Okay, coherent, have adequate development. Okay. Will you work with a tutor? All right. So think about that. What steps will you take? Will you spend more time on it? Okay. What steps will you take to improve your next draft? And I think answering these questions, all right, they just allow you to take ownership of the revision process. Okay. Because now you're looking at, you know, what you think could be improved about your essay, you know, beyond, you know, what I have suggested, or beyond what a tutor may suggest. And that's not to say you shouldn't take these suggestions into consideration. By all means do. But like I said, you know, it's your name going on your paper, and it's going in your portfolio. So you best, you know, take some ownership of this revision process. Okay. And then the bottom of this, or the remaining pages, are just like a checklist. This is just stuff to keep in mind, you know, before you submit your rough draft, or excuse me, draft number 2, which is still a rough draft. Okay. Have you used your opening sentences to evoke? Have you captured your readers' interests? Okay. And then you can kind of go through. Um, it's just broken down into sections: intro, body, conclusion, mechanics, all that. Okay. And then these you can yes no these. I'm in a green mood today, so everything's been green. All right. And then you can just save it, upload it right into the assignment folder. You can put this in the draft 2 folder along with your draft. That's fine. Okay. But I think the main thing here is to just get in this practice of going over your own work. Okay. In addition to, getting feedback from your teacher and or a tutor, if you're using one. Okay. So yeah. That can be found, right? This document is just called Instructor Chosen Essay Self-Assessment. And you have to click the Instructor Chosen Essay Draft number 2 to access that, okay? And then, like I said, you can just put them both right in the same folder, okay? Again, that's in week 5. All right, now, okay, this is what we're about to cover. This revision and editing, it's just a short document that breaks down. Oh yeah, okay. Breaks down, the differences between revision and editing, and also gives you some strategies. One, okay, actually these are all good strategies. This one, print hard copies. In face-to-face, I used to just let my students just print in the classroom because it was free, but I know not everyone has a printer. I have one, but it doesn't print. I just use it for, I basically use it as a scanner. All right. But, these are just some good strategies. Okay. Boom. Oh, yeah. Read aloud in Microsoft Word. Okay. Most of what's in here in this next thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to reiterate when I go over these slides. Okay. This is the same material. Actually, both of these, revising drafts and steps for revising your paper, they're pretty much saying the same thing, just in a different way. All right. And for the most part, if you look at any textbook or go to any website where there's a discussion or there's content about revision and editing, for the most part, it's going to say the same thing. Revision is revision, no matter the source it comes from. Okay. And editing is editing, no matter the source where you learn this material. But, do go over this material just for some further instruction. Okay. Now, okay, revision. Fall 2020. Okay, I can swap that to winter 2021 now.
I have a quick question. Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt.
No, cool. Let's go.
So, so I submitted my first draft, but I decided to make another first draft because I didn't like my first one. So can I just use what you critiqued on my first one for the one that I guess my second first draft, because I like that one
absolutely. Better. Absolutely. We'll call that your second draft. That's fine.
Okay.
Yep. Just put it in the folder. Make sure you put it back in the or make sure you put it in the draft 2 folder though, Mackenzie.
Okay.
Cool. And now, good people, if you're in D2L, I'm about to look at these revision fall 2020 slides, even though it's winter 21. Recycling is fun. Okay. I already have mine open because I was using it this morning. Okay. But again, you can just click on it, or you can just hit this drop down and go download. Okay. And here it is. Revision and editing. Okay. Here's the textbook I stole a lot of this from. Okay. And by stole, I mean borrowed and gave proper credit. Okay. Now, yeah, man, revise now before it's too late. Definitely. Okay. So last week we talked about the writing process. Okay. Brainstorming, right? Drafting. Okay. Now we're in the revision and feedback stage. You have your feedback from me. Okay. Now we're in the revision stages. Okay. And when we think revision, right? And this is especially what I want us to be focused on in this draft. Some of your essays, if run-ons and fragments were a significant issue, I pointed them out. But if there were just a handful, or if there's just one or two, I kind of just overlooked them because I was more focused on content for this essay. And that's really what we're about, when we talk about revision. Okay. It's all about content. Okay. So the dotting of the I's and the crossing of the T, tease that can come later, but right now we're still building our content. So when we think revision, we're thinking of content, right? We're thinking of, okay, now what details can I add, right? What else can I discuss in draft number 2 to help me reach 4 pages? And not only to help you reach 4 pages, but to give your reader, like, some insight into your experiences. Or better yet, how can I help my reader, visualize what I went through or what I'm going through? Because some of the essays were about, just current things, which is fine. Okay. So think about that. Also, content sometimes involves, or developing your content sometimes involves like removing things from your essay. Okay. Think about organization, right? One of the qualities that most narrative essays feature is events being written or events being discussed chronologically, meaning discuss what happened first and then second and then so on and so forth from there. All right. And try not to jump around in your papers. In this paragraph is 2019, then in your next paragraph is 2017, and then your next paragraph is the current moment. So try not to jump around. So when we say organization, especially again, like I said, when we're thinking in terms of a narrative, try to tell your story chronologically. Okay, what happened first? All right, what happened first? Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
So just to kind of recap, so we can go back, make our corrections and then move on. Did I understand that correctly?
What?
Like there are some corrections like in my essay.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we make those corrections, kind of fill the Twinkie in with a little more vanilla frosting.
There you go. Okay.
I'm fat. I always think about food. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm starving right now, so don't. Yeah, but no, that's the gist of it. You're gonna be adding more
Okay.
to this next draft. Absolutely. Okay.
Got you. Thank you.
And then our two main charges for this essay are, content and organization. That's what we think of in the revision process. We call, in academic speak, we call them higher order concerns, but really, they're just, it doesn't matter how well you spelled everything, or if your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, if the content isn't there, if your paper's not organized, or if your readers aren't able to follow. Okay. And then clarity just means clarity of ideas. Like these next two kind of go hand in hand. Just say what you mean clearly. Okay. And then finally, everyone nailed this one, responding to the assignment. And responding to the assignment is just, doing what you're asked to do. All right. And this prompt, I try to, all of my essay prompts are straightforward. But I think when we come to the common essay, which is the essay we're going to get started on in the next couple weeks, and then your impromptu, definitely, just be mindful to follow directions. That's all. Okay. Yeah. Now we edit. Okay, that's when grammar, spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and word choice comes into play. But again, nothing in the editing category matters if you did not do the work in the revision category first. Okay, so again, with this draft, I do want you to start, trying to catch run-ons, trying to catch fragments. All right, using not spell check, I'm kind of old school that way. But using Grammarly, using Editor in Microsoft Office, to help you catch certain things. But I think above all, this draft, should be about content. Okay. And definitely, like I said at the beginning of this session, next draft, try to make it 4 pages, or as close to 4 pages as you can. And I say that because right now we're going from draft 1 to draft number 2, but once you get this draft in, you're going to be going from draft number 2 to the final draft, right? And if this draft isn't 4 pages, then you're just making more work for yourself when you go to that final draft. Ideally, your final draft should just be about polishing, meaning for this draft, you should have your content intact once you submit it. Okay, you should have the content there. That experience should be there, right? And what you learn from that experience should be there. Okay, should be 4 pages. So really going from that second to that third draft should just be about polishing it up a little bit and trying to make it the best you can make it, given the time that we have. And then this is just an explanation. Okay, after receiving, check for organization. Definitely make sure you have an intro. Okay. It says make sure you have a clear thesis, but for narrative, sometimes your thesis can be implied. But if you are if you are going with an explicitly stated thesis statement, then it should sound something like, here's my experience, here's what I learned from it. Being unprepared my freshman year in college taught me to take school more seriously. Okay, or whatever your situation is. Okay, so make sure you're starting, but make sure you start strong, I should say. But the main idea about organization. Okay, here's another food reference, right? You can use the analogy of a sandwich, to organize your paper. Whereas the top bun or the top piece of bread, okay, that's your intro, right? And then whatever you like inside of your sandwich, okay, those are your body paragraphs, all right? And when you think about it, when you think about a sandwich, that's usually where the good stuff is, right? Whatever you like in your sandwiches, okay. And then that bottom piece of bread, that's your conclusion. All right. So again, make sure your essay has a sense of organization. What you don't want for draft number 2, or for any upcoming drafts of essays, you don't want an essay that's one long paragraph. Okay. So break it down. Okay, break it down. It's going to go a long way in helping you with organizing your paper. Okay, break it down. Start a new paragraph when you start discussing a new phase in your life. Okay, maybe you move to a new place, maybe you started a new job, maybe you move to or you graduated to a new grade. Okay, you started a new school. Okay, start a new paragraph. Or maybe you just want to give your reader a moment to pause or reflect. That's fine. Start a new paragraph. Yes.
So, quick question, when you mean don't make it a long paragraph, so keep it between like 4 and 6 sentences?
Could be. Okay. Again, just start.
I just want to get the specifics. As me, I'll just keep writing and 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 not really know where the break is. So I try to put at least, like in my paragraphs, 4 to 5 sentences.
Okay. If you want to use that blueprint, that's cool, Brian. But just when there's a change in direction,
I got you. Okay.
start a new paragraph.
I got
Or if you, like you said, if you get into a groove and you just kind of feel yourself going and going and going, break it up to give your reader, ask yourself, like, when do you want your reader to just stop and think for a moment?
I got you. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sounds cool. And then Brian and others, break it up where you see fit. And of course, I'm gonna be here to coach once you submit. So it's fine. All right.
All right.
So, intro, body, conclusion. Okay. Again, if you struggle to break your essay up in draft number 1, it's fine, but make sure that you really keep that in mind when you're working on your second draft. Okay, which again, let me just say, your second draft is not the final draft. Okay, so if you're struggling, that's cool. Struggle is good when it comes to writing. It means you're really trying. Okay. Now, like I said before, your thesis for this essay, you know, what is that thing I was using? Let's see if I can find this real quick. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if this is the right one. Of course not. Now I can't find that one document I had where it's just the build up to your, okay, from a different class. I'll come back to it. It was just the example I was showing the other day where there was a mock intro that kind of built up to the thesis statement. Last time I saw you on Monday. Still in January. All right, I'm spending too much time on this. Okay. Just be sure that when you're putting your intro together, okay? And like I said, if you're sometimes in a narrative, the thesis statement is implied, meaning once your reader reads the intro, they're gonna know, what it's about, and that's cool. But again, if you are using an explicitly stated thesis statement, again, it should state the experience and then what you learned from it. Okay. All right. And then, content. It's what I was saying before. Are there enough details? Okay. Are there enough details? And then is there material that should be cut? Now, when when I say, or when I ask, or when you ask yourself, I should say, is there material that should be cut? Everything in your essay serves the big picture. Okay, serves this message or this lesson or whatever you want to communicate to your audience. Okay, everything in your essay serves that purpose. So if there is something in your essay that doesn't belong there, right, could be interesting but not directly connected to your main idea, then you got to get it out of there. Okay, and I can make suggestions. Or sometimes I'll just make a comment on an essay. This seems out of place, or there'll be like something highlighted and it say, do you really need this? All right, and you'll probably see that once you submit draft number 2. But yeah, ask yourself, one, do I have enough material? And then of this material that I have, does all of it fit within the grand scheme of things? Okay, big picture. Okay, and then clarity of ideas. Are you using acronyms that your reader may not know? Are you using terms that they are like jargon that they may not know? I know last semester, in fact, I had a student in the military, and first drafts of his essays would always be full of military jargon. And I'm like, you can't assume that your reader knows something just because you know it. Okay. So yeah, if there's something that is not really in the public mind or in the public dialogue, so to speak, provide an explanation. It's the same thing for terms that are culturally specific. Okay, don't put slang in everything or in your work, because there's no guarantee that your reader is going to understand it. Okay, even acronyms like the texting acronyms like LOL and things of that nature. Don't assume that your reader knows what that means. Okay, Assume your reader knows what that means. Awkwardly worded sentences too. Yeah, make sure you're expressing yourself clearly. And a good way to catch awkward wordings is to read your material out loud. Okay, just read it back to yourself out loud. And I think now, you all, after having, you guys turned them in Wednesday. Yeah, after having, been apart from your paper for a few days, okay, you can go back and look at it with fresh eyes. Okay. And then read it out loud to yourself. Okay. Read it out loud to yourself, see how it sounds. Okay. Or better yet, if you have somebody you trust, read it out loud to them. Okay. Or, if you want to have Microsoft Word's robotic voice read it back to you, you can do that as well. Okay. And then finally, respond to the assignment, same thing I just said. Okay. Now, this is something specific for us because these instructor chosen essays are narratives, meaning you're relating a personal story. You're telling a story pretty much. Okay. Does your narrative make a clear point? Meaning it's not, you're not telling a story just for the sake of telling a story. Okay. What did you get from this thing that you went through? Right? Did you learn, the power of perseverance? Um, did you learn how strong you are, right? Where you previously didn't know it? Okay, sometimes we don't know how strong we are until we actually get tested. Okay. Did you learn the value of family? All right. Or did you learn the value of hard work? Whatever it is. Okay, just make sure your essay makes a clear point. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. This one. For a few of your essays, I wrote in the comments, right? Um, for your next draft, fill in some blanks. Fill in some blanks. What happened here? Okay. What happened here? There's a few where it's like, I had a really hard time in algebra, my 10th grade year. Okay. And then the next paragraph will start. Well, when I finally started college, and it's like, well, what happened? You went from having a hard time in algebra your 10th grade year to being in college, right? What happened in the meantime? Okay. And it's the same, if you have a gap in your writing or in your narrative, what happened? Okay. What happened? Does your essay effectively recreate your experience for your readers? Okay, I'll show you some examples of that in a second. Okay, or are there places where I can be more descriptive or add more detail? Okay, more descriptive. Okay, one thing that and this is just not just in this class, but it's a habit that a lot of people have, using the word super to show emphasis. Like, I was super tired. And we say it all the time. I probably just said it like I'm super hungry. But in writing, it's not cool. Okay, you are very hungry, or you are extremely hungry. You are extraordinarily hungry. But don't put super. Okay, I was super tired, super hungry, or super whatever. Okay. Is there distracting material that needs to be cut? If you remember last week, right, when we were going over that paragraph example, and the writer was moving in one direction in the paragraph, but then they kind of went off on a tangent about, seeing an old friend at an ATM. Okay. Things like that can really be distracting to your reader, even if it's just one line or one sentence that's really not connected to the rest of them. Like, you may have thought it was interesting, and it may be interesting, but again, we have to think big picture, when we're writing an essay. Okay. So, ask yourself, is there distracting material that needs to be cut? Okay. And then, have I consistently written with my audience in mind? Am I using words they understand? Okay. Am I using enough detail to help them see or to help them visualize my experiences, or am I relying on them to fill in those gaps? Meaning in my own mind, I'm saying, well, they'll know what I mean. They'll know what I mean. Okay, we can't make that assumption for our audience. Okay. Use your words. Again, paint that picture with your words. Okay. Also, it goes back to what I was saying before, you know, am I using acronyms, or am I using words that only people in a specific field would understand? Okay. Break it down. Okay. Are my paragraphs connected to my purpose? Or better yet, are my paragraphs in a logical order? Okay. And again, this goes back to you reading your paper as a whole. Okay. And look at each paragraph. You know, do my paragraphs follow a sequence? Okay. Do my paragraphs follow a sequence? Or, you know, do they jump around a lot? All right. We want sequence. We want organization. All right. And I know some stories can start at the end and kind of work back. Or you know, they can kind of fill in the blanks or whatever, meaning like kind of jump around. I'm thinking of like TV series and things like that. But I think with writing, sometimes it's best to go with a traditional format. Okay, especially for these essays. You know, they're going to be portfolio essays. Okay, and then the next one's kind of redundant, so I'll skip it. But details are important, obviously. All right, and then this last one, only you know the answer to this one. Am I content with my essay? Now, before we go further, just keep in mind that whether it's, you know, our book, you know, Born a Crime, you know, whether it's newspaper articles, magazine articles, essays, you know, no piece of writing is ever finished. There's always something that can be adjusted, something that can be improved upon. But we just call pieces of writing done because of deadlines. Okay. So when I say, or when you say to yourself, or when you ask yourself, am I content with my essay? You're really saying, you know, did I do my best work with the time that I've been given? Okay. Because right now you have a week. Okay. You have until the 15th to get draft number 2 uploaded. Okay. So in that space of a week, you know, am I content with my essay? Did I do my best work? Did I put as much effort as I could into this piece? And, you know, that's, like I said, only you can answer that. Okay. Sometimes students, and I guess this is people in general, but you know, sometimes people don't see the good in what they do. Because when I see essays, I see all the good things. You know, of course, I see things that need improvement, but you know, I see the things that work also. And you know, you should look at the things that work. Okay. So am I content with my essay? Okay. I'm gonna skip around a little bit. This is just you going over your entire essay. And you're just, again, looking for organization, intro, body, conclusion. All right. Now, you're looking at your whole paper. Again, read it back to yourself. I can't stress that enough. And try to read it out loud. Okay. Hopefully you're by yourself so nobody gives you that side eye. Okay. I was wondering, I don't know if you guys can see the captions, but I'm using captions. And I was wondering if the captions would say side eye, but it didn't get it right. Oh yeah, got it right that time. Okay. But check your paper for organization. Do I have a clear intro? Do I have clear body paragraphs? Do I have a clear conclusion? Okay. And then is everything kind of working together for one purpose? Okay. Check each paragraph. Check for sentences that don't belong. Check for coherence. All right. If you have like a consecutive number of like short and choppy sentences, you're gonna have to add some coherence to that paragraph. If you have ideas that connect in your own mind, but you know when you read them, there's not a really clear connection, or when your reader reads them, there's not a really clear connection. Again, you're gonna have to enhance the coherence of that paragraph. Okay, so here's one that's a first draft. After my sophomore year of college, I had to drop out for a second time. I did not have the money to pay off my balance. My school will not let me back in until I paid $3,600. Okay, that's a true story for me too. I went home. I got a job. I came back to school with a new appreciation for my education. Okay, there was a lot said in that paragraph. Okay, now the content for this paragraph is here. Okay, but now we need to fill in some gaps. We need to add some transitions, okay, some transition words and transitional phrases to make sure everything is connected smoothly. When we say coherence, one sentence should kind of flow into the next, okay, or one idea should flow into the next. All right, and most importantly, your reader shouldn't be having questions like, well, what happened? Okay, where'd you work? Okay, here's a revised version. After my sophomore year of college, I had to drop out for a second time because I did not have money to pay off my $3,600 balance. Okay, now here's a transition, right? As a result, and as a result, therefore, thus, right? These are transitions that show cause and effect relationships, meaning had to drop out of school, that's the cause. And as a result, I had to return home for a semester. That's the effect. So when you're using transitions, think about the relationship between your ideas you want to show. Like, is it one of addition? Is it one of contrariness? Okay. Like, however, and transitions like that. All right. Is it causal or cause and effect? You know, the one that I have here. All right. Make sure you're using the right tool is what I'm saying. Okay. As a result, I had to return home for a semester while I was at home. And I know on a lot of papers I put practice using transitional phrases. This will be an example of that. While I was at home. Okay. After I moved into my first apartment. Once I graduated, I was ready for the job market. Okay, and so on and so forth. While I was at home, I got a job at Little Caesars during the week, and on the weekends, I worked as a cart attendant at Rouge Park Golf Course. Okay, now we're filling in some blanks for our readers. So now we've added two strategies for coherence. One, we're filling in little gaps of information, and then we're using transitions and transitional phrases. After 3 months of working and saving, I had earned enough to pay off my balance and begin my junior year. This time around, I appreciated my education much more because I was paying with my own money. Okay. And then, you know, if we were going to keep our same momentum, what is this other thing I have open? Okay. We could start our next paragraph like this. And we would keep going. Once I returned to school, I had a new attitude. Okay. So this will be the start of our next paragraph that came after this one. Okay. So transitions, transitional phrases, they are going to go a long way in smoothing out connections between our ideas, gluing our ideas together. Okay. Showing our reader that there's a connection. Like if we look at this original version, I went home, I got a job, I came back to school. Well, what happened? Right? What happened when you went from this person went from getting a job to going right back to school? What happened in the meantime? Oh, you got a job working at Little Caesars and you worked at the golf course on the weekends. And then after 3 months of working and saving, you earned enough to pay off your balance. I earned enough to pay off my balance and go back to school. Okay. So if I wrote like filling gaps in your papers or some even within your paragraphs, I wrote like, you know, practice filling in the blanks or practice including additional information for paragraph coherence. This is what I mean. Okay. Show your reader. All right. And then, like I was saying before about the type of relationship you want to show with the transition you use, again, make sure you're using the right tool for the job. Okay. This semester, I'm taking composition, math, and psychology. I have a job. I'm very busy. Okay. We can revise that, with some transitions. This semester, I'm taking composition, math, and psychology. In addition to my classes, I have a job. As a result, I am very busy. Okay. Or you can take it further. As a result of my full schedule, I am very busy. Okay. Transitions are our friends. Okay. Transitions are our friends. They keep us together, right? As good friends should do. Okay. This is material I went over last week about just achieving coherence, or more strategies to achieve coherence. This is the same material from my book, just transitions, repetition of keywords, parallel structure, and alternating pronouns and proper nouns. Okay. Now, paragraphs should be coherent, but they should also be developed. Develop means you've answered the question, what does my reader need to know? What do they need to know? My first year of college did not go too well. I had a lot going on, and that affected my grades. I was reprimanded, and I soon realized that I needed to get my act together. Okay. Student just told their whole academic life story in about 3 sentences. All right. And I know there's more to, as a reader, I'm reading this and I say, I know there's more to the story than that. This original version tells the reader what happened. The revised version shows them what happened. What do you mean? It didn't go to, your first year didn't go too well. What do you mean I had a lot going on? Okay. How are your grades affected? Because for some people, getting a 3.0, that means they're like, man, I'm slipping. Okay. But for a lot of us, 3.0 is time to pop the champagne bottles. Right. At least for me, it was, especially in high school. All right. My first semester at Michigan State did not go too well. Okay. Now we're getting more specific. Now we've included Michigan State or the name of wherever we were, because that's going to help our reader visualize. Okay. Sort of gives them a landmark to envision. I was working full time, going to school full time, and I had a pretty active social life. Again, instead of saying I had a lot going on, what did you have going on? Trying to balance my classes, my job, and keeping up with my friends resulted in me earning a 1.5 GPA at the end of the semester. Now, when you say your grades were slipping, what does that mean? Oh, you had a 1.5? Lord. Okay, no. Okay. Consequently, there's a transition. I was placed on academic probation. Okay, again, specific details, which meant I would have to increase my GPA in order to stay at state. This reprimand would be my wake-up call that I needed to reorganize my priorities. Okay, again, develop your paragraphs with specific details. Now, if we look at the revised version of this paragraph, our readers can visualize, or you're giving them concrete details. So don't just say you were having a bad year. Okay. What happened? Okay. How did that year go bad? Okay. Incorporate some specifics. So also, Brian, I remember you asked me, at the beginning of this discussion, should we add to the end, or can we add within our essay? This is what I mean by you can add details like within your essay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So think about in your own essay, right, where you can add more detail, where you can be more specific, where you can add more concrete imagery to help your reader visualize, the struggle you endured. Okay. So now we're looking at our paragraphs when we revise. Okay. One, are my paragraphs unified? Meaning, does every sentence in this paragraph belong? Now we're checking for coherence, right? Does each sentence flow smoothly into the next one? Does each idea flow smoothly into the next one? Or do I have abrupt changes in direction in my paragraphs? That can distract the reader as well. Okay. And then are my paragraphs developed, like adequately developed? Meaning, do I have enough detail to communicate this idea? Okay. Like this one. First year didn't go too well. Well, what does that mean? Okay. Well, I had a 1.5. Okay. Oh, okay. You say you got reprimanded. What does that mean? I got put on academic probation. Oh, okay. We'll put that in your essay. All right. So what I'm getting at here is try to think as concrete as you can. Okay. Because again, we can't make the mistake of assuming that our reader knows what's in our brain. Okay. Unless we show them. Okay. Now, if you notice the sequence here, we started by looking at our papers as a whole, checking for organization. Then we broke it down, to look at each paragraph, making sure our paragraphs are unified, they're coherent, they're developed. Now look at each sentence. Okay, is it time consuming? Yeah, but is it worth it? Definitely. Okay. This is where reading your paper out loud will pay dividends. What sentences are not clearly expressed or logically constructed? What sentences are not clearly expressed or logically constructed? If you need assistance with this, upload your paper to NetTutor, or, contact the ASC and schedule some time with the tutor. Okay. The first two kind of go hand in hand. Trite is just overused. That's another thing. If you find yourself using the same words a lot, like if there's a word that you really like and you keep using it, but then you're like, man, I'm using this word too much. Switch it up. It's the same thing if you find yourself opening your sentences the same way. Like if you have a bunch of consecutive sentences that start the same way, okay? Break it down, break it down, break it down. Okay. Looking at these remaining points. Okay. Word omission, you can pick that up from reading out loud as well. Word omission is just this, like if in your mind you say I went to the store, but when you write it, it comes out I went to store. Okay. Sometimes when you read that back to yourself, if you're reading it silently, you're going to put in the word that you missed. That's just the way our brains work. All right. But if you're reading it out loud, you're just more prone to catch, word omission. Okay. Well, I will save editing for Wednesday when we see each other again. All right. But for right now, you have your papers in your assignment folders. Look at the comments, look at the feedback, look at the suggestions. All right. But again, go beyond what has been suggested to you, because it's your paper, you own it. Okay. And then I think with these essays, it's your story. Okay. It's your life, right? So make sure you tell it in the way that you want it to be told. Okay. But start by looking at the entire paper. Check for organization. Okay. Then look at it by paragraph, right? Does each one of these paragraphs serve the big picture? And then are my paragraphs unified? No distracting sentences that don't belong. Are they coherent? Each sentence, each idea flows smoothly into the next. Are they developed? Do I have enough detail to recreate this experience? Okay. Then look at it by sentence. Okay. Do I have sentences that could be more clearly expressed? Okay. Or do I have awkwardly constructed sentences? Okay. And if you want, you can start looking at run-ons and fragments as well. Comma splice. Okay. Yeah, I will save those remaining slides for when we meet again. Okay. Now, good people. Okay. Let's meet again on Wednesday, and then I'll wrap up this discussion with some more just suggestions about revising and editing. Okay. But again, ideas, content, organization. This is what we're focusing on for draft number 2. All right. And then there's a set of reading questions this week, so don't think I'm letting you off the hook for those. I just haven't added them yet. I have to actually I may have them on my computer. I may have to just transfer them over from the other. Oh, never mind. Reading questions number 4. All right. Let me get those uploaded. Okay. Before I do that, there is a discussion question. And last week or a couple weeks ago, I can't remember when it was, there was a discussion post about the writing process that was more general. This was more specific. Okay. And again, this is all about you getting to know your own process. All right. So, assess this as honestly as you can, because that's the only way you're going to, make adjustments to your writing process when you have to. So what's your typical writing environment like? Is it quiet? Is it noisy? Is it organized, cluttered? And I mean cluttered as far as, like, you guys can't see my desk, but there's just stuff everywhere. Okay. Just old, like, digital devices and pens and stuff. So it could be that kind of clutter, or maybe you write with 5-6 tabs open, okay, which is which is also not good. Okay. And then follow it up. Do you feel your writing environment helps or hinders your writing? All right. If it hinders, then you should ask yourself, okay, what needs to change? And then, do you type, handwrite, or dictate your early drafts? Okay. Dictation is cool. All right. If you don't feel like typing, you can just dictate your paper, period. But sometimes when you dictate, it doesn't do everything that you need it to do. Like if you want to quotation mark, quote something, end quote, you're gonna have to do that manually. All right, but dictation is fine. All right. If you can still see my screen here, I'm not typing this. I'm just as I'm speaking it, the computer, Microsoft Word is doing the work for me. New paragraph. Oh, it worked. Okay, very good. Okay, so that's that. If you want to dictate your papers, that's fine. This isn't cool for me, but if you want to do that, that's cool. All right. So do you type, handwrite, or dictate your early drafts? Is your practice helpful? Why or why not? Did you compose your draft in one sitting? This is your first draft. Did you compose your draft in one sitting, or did you write it over a period of several days? And then what, if anything, about the process of writing your narrative essay draft brought the most anxiety? Okay. No, answer that honestly. Don't think in terms of a right and wrong answer. All right. So yeah, folks, look at your paper and just browse this week 5 material, and we'll do it again on Wednesday. Okay. Final thoughts before we call it an evening?
No, that was really good, sir. Thanks for the explanations. I appreciate it.
Oh, cool, man. You just made my day. All right. Gotta go put some food in my body. So, all right.
Checkers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One more salmon burger in the freezer. Yes. One more. I need to make a Costco run.
That's it, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night, my good people.